but it's not about teaching our children, it's about teaching our parents, because a lot of times parents don't know what's going on that phone. So even when you have a child in your house and you think, well, they're not, at least they're not in the streets. But if they have a phone and if they have a video game or the gaming system, whatever's out there is going to be in your house. See, there's a fire detector, right? But there's no street detector in the house. So a lot of times kids could get away because parents are not tech savvy. So what we're trying to get together is working with an organization that I'm a part of on the board called the Exodus Road that deals with human trafficking. But also we talk about online safety, which attacks everything, trafficking, violence, everything that falls into that. So we're trying to teach parents on how to monitor what their children are looking at or what they're involved with. The majority of violence in Philadelphia is started on social media now, right?
Exactly.
If you get jumped back in the days, not too many people, they heard about it, but now it's video. Now you're embarrassed. The world
Yes.
sees it, and now you need to do something about it. Well, they feel they need to do something about it.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like, how do we de-escalate those situations to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Welcome to Key Community Leaders on the Progressive Access Zone podcast, sponsored by the Hispanic Community Counseling Service. I'm your guest host, Atlas X, and today we have Edwin Desamore, Executive Director of the Lighthouse Field. This is definitely a special guest, ladies and gentlemen, that we have on today. Edwin, we go back to 2021. The gun violence was spiking in Philadelphia, carjackings, things were really getting out of control. I decided to step into this situation and formed a coalition. And at that point, we started to go out onto the streets. But before we get into that, you wear many hats, Edwin. What were you doing? Because your rise to where you are now was very quick. So what were you doing before you were at the Lighthouse Field?
Pretty much before the Lighthouse Field, I was a dean at a school called Stetson. I actually became a dean at the same school. I was kicked out by a dean. I was a kid at Stetson, kicked out by the dean. So many years later, became a dean at the school. But it was, again, wearing multiple hats. I was a consultant. I was a motivational speaker and also a community advocate.
Now, with regard to the motivational speaking, what was sort of the theme and maybe who was calling you out when it came to the motivational speaking?
Basically on juvenile justice, second chances, turning your life around and just having that grit to move forward.
And what gave you, and if I'm correct, before coming to the Lighthouse, you were also with the organization PAN, who's one of our key community hub partners. You joined PAN, and what motivated you to go to PAN?
Wow. PAN is where I started my career. PAN was the place, the Philadelphia Anti-Drug Anti-Violence Network. A gentleman by the name of James Mills, he gave me an opportunity. I was someone that was looking for a way to give back, but also a job so I could provide, and went in for an interview. And I'll never forget, I didn't even know how to interview at that time. I went in wearing sandals. And James Mills looked at my feet and said, "Nice sandals." And I was actually doing this interview as a favor for my little brother, just to make sure that he wasn't on my back about, getting in trouble or anything like that. And I didn't know I was going to get the job, but I ended up getting the job because many people turned me away. But he brought me in and also became a mentor.
Great. And how long were you at PAN?
I was at PAN for about 3 years. And then after PAN, I ended up working for an organization called WAR, Women Organized Against Rape. These ladies brought me in and wanted me to become an education specialist. So that's where I kind of picked up my facilitating skills and how to deal with a computer and just was part of that WAR family and was getting out there. Then after that, worked for Congreso. Then after that, started an organization myself called Mimic, Men in Motion in the Community.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, it was just bringing guys from the neighborhood who had a past in those streets. But I said, hey, there's a lot of kids out there mimicking what we used to do, but we need to come back and get them to mimic the right things. So we named the organization Mimic, did that for a few years and just juggled around here and there. And then my career just started to blossom a little bit from there and giving back to the community and also to this world.
And this is, ladies and gentlemen, why I said we have a special guest here today on Key Community Leaders. With that being said, Edwin, eventually you evolved to getting to the Lighthouse. Now, with that being said, you have 3 locations, all right? You actually have the Lighthouse Field. You have the location on Somerset, All
Yes.
right. And what is that location?
On Somerset, it's at 142, 141 West Somerset, right off of Howard and Somerset. It's a building. We have indoor swimming pool, indoor gym, just plenty of room activities. So if you want to know more, Jillian's going to be joining us pretty soon to break down our programs and everything that we do. And we have a Lighthouse Field that's on Front and Erie, right
Yes.
across the street from St. Christopher's.
Yes. And we're going to definitely get back to the lighthouse. And also, I recently met you over at the school on Lehigh. All
Yes.
right. And you gave me a tour. And let me tell you, if you want to go somewhere for lunch, you can go right to his school. I mean, he's got a cook, a full staff there. And Edwin, let's start right there in the kitchen because it wasn't, as you told me, it wasn't box meals. What are you doing there?
Well, basically, everything's about family style eating, right? We don't know if our children get this type of style at home. If you look at many homes today, everybody's on their phone. Someone's upstairs eating. Someone's in the kitchen. Someone's in their room. Someone's in the basement. No one's really communicating with each other or getting a better understanding of what family environment is. So we have fresh, hot meals cooked for the children. And when the meals are brought to the classroom, the children will sit around at a table. So every day is like Thanksgiving. Can you pass the rice? Can you pass the bread? Can you pass the juice? Thank you. And folks learn how to eat together. Our children learn how to eat together, and hopefully that could plant a seed where they take that into their lives as they get older and keep that vibe going.
Right. So, with that being said, it's a tremendous foundation and an enriching environment. Now, as I indicated, we met back in 2021. All
Yes.
right. And gun violence is out of control. You, myself, and other coalition members are out on the streets patrolling in different parts of the city
In the cold.
in the cold. We're not talking 40 degrees.
Yeah.
We're talking 10, 15 degrees, sometimes 30 degrees. It was seriously cold.
Yeah.
All right. And we're out there going around to our different base locations, whether it was in Kensington, whether it was in West Philly, whether it was in Germantown. And we're out there 10, 15 deep. Sometimes there's only a handful of us.
Yeah. Walking these streets, engaging people, even getting threatened.
Yes.
Folks were irritated, but some folks were happy. But I will say this, it was cold, but violence doesn't get cold.
Absolutely. And here we are now. I have the blueprint plan, and that was the foundation of me coming on board and bringing the Latino and Black and Brown community together on a stronger bond. All right. And Hector was very supportive of this. You were very supportive of this. Okay. Because I figured I knew working together, we would have a better chance to try to get the message out there to individuals. And Edwin, one of my key principles was, and I remember we were in a meeting one time, but I was talking about so many young individuals are programmed a certain way, whether it's from the music, movies, or influences from the environment, and they're mimicking these things, all right? And they're out there, and some are so they can be influenced so quickly that you've got a lot of people who are out there doing the wrong thing. Now you have some hardcore people, you have some people who are on the fence, right? Who are doing these particular type of things out there. And of course, we know that there has to be some other options for individuals that if we want to get them off of the streets. Because if you offer someone who's out selling on the street right now, hey, you can have $1,000 working at Pico in a safe environment, or you can have $1,000 and stand on the corner and hustle. There are going to be some that want to stay on the corner and hustle because they like the lifestyle, right? And I remember one time we were having a conversation, and when I was talking about their program this way, I'm going to tell you what you told me. You said, this is all they know. You remember that?
Yeah.
You told me. And why did you say that? This is all they know. This is their reality. Why did you say that?
Environment is everything, right? And we will speak about the Lighthouse Field and the way and what we're doing there and how we create the atmosphere. Because when folks enter our Lighthouse Field, they say, I don't feel like I'm in Philadelphia, right? It's kind of de-escalating, taking away all the stress, all the anger, all the trauma for that moment in that moment in time when they're on the field. But the reason I said that is because when you step out the door, what do you walk into? I always tell families, folks know about baby proofing their house, right? When you have a child, you make sure you put the plastic in the socket. You make sure you put the gate by the stairs, right? Because you don't want your child to get hurt, right? You baby proof the house. But we forget to baby proof our communities. Because when your kid gets older, he's going to fall out to that gang. He's going to fall out to those drugs. He's going to fall into many different elements out there. So what do we as a society do to baby proof our communities? And that's where it starts.
Right. And also, and that's very important, all right there, because without having what, you're saying right now, the system is just going to continue. All right. And of course, like you said, this is their reality. It's because for people, depending upon how old you are, we have the cell phone generation, right?
Hmm.
You can take it back to people before cell phone, or a lot of people don't know what's a typewriter. You know what I mean? It all depends on where you are. But if your reality is when I wake up every day, this is what I see. And social media is such a driver of a lot of the drama that is going on out there right now, right? And so I'm just curious, do you have any programs at your school, okay, that maybe sort of try to counter this?
Yeah, most definitely. I just got back from DC a few weeks ago, just looking for some support because we're going to talk about online safety, right? But it's not about teaching our children, it's about teaching our parents because a lot of times parents don't know what's going on that phone. So even when you have a child in your house and you think, well, they're not, at least they're not in the streets, but if they have a phone and if they have a video game or the gaming system, whatever's out there is going to be in your house. See, there's a fire detector, right? But there's no street detector in the house. So a lot of times kids could get away because parents are not tech savvy. So what we're trying to get together is working with an organization that I'm a part of on the board called the Exodus Road that deals with human trafficking. But also we talk about online safety, which attacks everything, trafficking, violence, everything that falls into that. So we're trying to teach parents on how to monitor what their children are looking at or what they're involved with. The majority of violence in Philadelphia is started on social media now, right?
Exactly.
If you get jumped back in the days, not too many people they heard about it, but now it's video. Now you're embarrassed. The world
Yes,
sees it, and now you need to do something about it. Well, they feel they need to do something about it,
exactly.
and it's kind of like how do we de-escalate those situations to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Exactly. You summed it up really well, Edwin. Edwin, when we think about Kensington, it has a reputation of being called, I believe, the Badlands.
Yeah,
And I remember you shared a documentary you did with, I believe, a former executive of Chipotle, if I'm correct,
yeah.
right? And tell us a little bit about that documentary and what you called it.
We call the documentary "The Goodlands." Um, I was born and raised in Kensington, and anywhere I travel in the country, people know about Philadelphia. And even in Philadelphia, I say, "Hey, my name is Edwin Desmore. I'm from the Goodlands," and I hear chuckles. People are like, "Where is that? What is he talking about?" And I said, "You heard of the Badlands, huh?" And everybody, even across the United, now even globally, when I'm out in Europe or different places in Asia, people who've heard about Philadelphia, they heard of the Badlands, right?
Think about that globally.
Right. So now, I always give people an example, right? Say, you have a GPS, right? Can you imagine your GPS, your driver says you just now entered the Badlands, right? People gonna be like, hold on, reroute. You know what I mean? You're looking for another route. But there are good people who live in these communities that can't do that. They got to keep going. And it's not fair to them to be labeled with that name, the Badlands, right? But now we have kids who are owning up to that. I guess I'm bad. I'm from the Badlands. I gotta live up to that reputation. And it's not helping when you have small business owners or different places calling themselves the Badlands. Certain times I've seen on social media where kids will put their location and it says Badlands.
Okay. That's a serious problem,
It is.
a really serious problem. And we know that in order to counter something like this, it's going to take a tremendous effort because the scales are so far dipped on the negative end of the scale right now, right? But with that being said, some of it is about providing opportunities, whether it's employment, all right? And then also having, because with so much drama, sometimes people just need relief. And it's also about it having activities.
Yeah.
And on that note, with regards to your Lighthouse field, I like to bring on the person who's over that right now, as far as doing the Lighthouse field. Come on in.
Julian Macarecci.
Yes, Julian, how are you doing? Yes, yes.
Good. I'm great.
All
Glad
right,
to
and
be here.
Julian, my understanding is that you are the director of sports and recreation at the Lighthouse Field, and the Lighthouse Field is a very instrumental in the Kensington community with regards to all the activities that take place there. I mean, we've got an assortment of opportunities there. From we know we got a baseball field. So why don't you tell us about all the different type of recreations that can take place at the Lighthouse Field?
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot. It's always growing. Right now, it's the spring, so that's our flag football program that's booming. We have almost 300 kids there this year. We have our summer camp coming up. We've hosted, baseball, like you mentioned, soccer. We have ceramics. We have a STEAM program, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So our goal is always to try to bring in as many new programs as possible to expose these kids to different career paths, different passions, to kind of just see what they want to do with their life, and we hope we can help them along the way.
How long have you been involved with the Lighthouse?
Almost 3 years.
Great. So you've seen the progression of the Lighthouse Field as far as, now you also have, I believe you're calling it the barn?
Yes.
Right. We have the barn. Tell us about the barn.
The barn, it's almost a magical place,
Yeah.
I would say. Edwin talked about feeling like you're not in Philly anymore. Like you feel like, I don't know, you're in the Poconos and the mountains, just hidden away from all the chaos. And we have a bar in there, we have the string lights, you got all the tables, and the great thing about it, there's something for everyone. We can customize it, whether you want a birthday party, graduation party. We've actually held podcasts there as well. We're going to have weddings in August. So it's just an immaculate place that anything can happen depending on what the person in our community is trying to accomplish.
I just want to be able to, it's okay to jump in on something when we mentioned the flag football. I like to call this good stress, right? Instead of bad stress. I think we maxed out at 200 and what?
280 right now.
280, right? That's good stress because we want to do more. We had to cap it, right? We don't have enough staff to manage. So now, whenever we have 280 kids come out to the field to play football, we have over 700 people on the field because now grandpops and moms, everybody's coming out with their blankets and their beach chairs to enjoy the game or just to enjoy the environment.
It's tremendous what's going on over at the Lighthouse Field. If you've never been there, you've got to go there. It's not about just flag football or the basketball, all right? Like I said, we're just talking about the barn right now. But at the same time, like you said, you can customize this because there's a section where you could, whether it's a wedding or whether you want to, Edwin, I remember last year or maybe the year before that, you had a networking event for community
Yes.
leaders, all right, on a social, like Friday night type thing. It was summertime. It was really great.
We have a hayride, and that's a hit there. The hayride, sometimes we get a line that's maybe 2 blocks long.
It's not
just
just
to get on a
kids
hayride.
either.
It's not just
The adults
kids.
are obsessed with
From
it.
senior citizens to adults to everyone getting on the hayride. We fill it up with hay, get the tractor going around, and it's just a whole different vibe. We have 5 horses, sheep, goats, chickens, ducks, rabbits, everything walking around. So we're like, I always like to say, we are an oasis in the midst of chaos.
Right. And Julian, obviously, besides that, we have a lot of concerts that have taken place here. So talk about that with regards to maybe some of the artists that have come there and what type of crowds have come out with regards to when we have like the live performances there at the Lighthouse.
Yeah, so I think something that we're probably pretty well known for is our rodeos.
Yeah.
So we have different rodeos, artists from all different countries.
Yeah.
And we actually just hosted the Puerto Rican Festival in September.
Yeah.
And how did that go? How did that turn out?
It was fantastic. We had a good time. It was great to see that many people come together. And we're just looking forward to improve on it every
One of
single
our
year.
rodeos, over 8,000 people came out.
Yeah.
8,000.
8,000 people.
Not 1, not 2, not 5, 8,000.
And what I think is beautiful about everything, we always talk about this, we have people coming in from not just the neighborhood. We have people coming in from Germantown, Northeast, Jersey, Allentown, for our events now. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because people from our neighborhood will say stuff like, "Hey, Ed," I'm like, "What's going on?" People are coming to our hood to have a good time. And it starts off with saying that's the good land.
Exactly. Now, not only that, there's also some special activities that take place at the Lighthouse Field. Edwin, how are you pulling this off? I think it was, if it wasn't earlier this year, it was last year. You even had Nickelodeon come out. Talk to us about Nickelodeon.
Wow, Nickelodeon was an awesome event. They were scouting. They were looking for an organization to end the year, the end of the year bash, and they would pick 2 organizations in the country. And they were out in Philly. Someone must have told them about what was going on in Lighthouse after they were searching. They walked in, they saw what was going on. They walked in one of our Easter extravaganzas, and they said, "Hey, we want to be here." And they were looking for the executive director, so they kept walking up to all these people with suits, and they was like, "We don't know where he's at." They was like, "Oh, he's on the." I was driving the tractor.
Okay.
So it was all hands on deck. All hands on deck. We all get involved. Also, you came out to our Winterfest.
I was at we had a table at a Winterfest, and it was a tremendous setup. I mean, besides the vendors that were inside and outside, you also had a little tour
Yeah.
or that you could take. Tell us about that. What you had set up for the Winterfest.
Yeah, so we had like state of the art light installations there. So the main goal was to not have people think they have to travel out to the suburbs, out to Jersey, to afford uh, like a high-end experience. They can just come right to their backyard. Very low entry fee, all the snacks, all the food we sell, even when we bring in the different vendors, the food trucks, we ask them to keep their prices low so that no family can feel like, oh, I don't belong here. I can't afford to buy my kids hot chocolate or a hot dog or whatever it is. So especially around the holidays when there's a lot of pressure to, give um, to a lot of people, we want to make it a comfortable space for everyone.
Yeah.
That's really great. And with that being said, right there, what's your vision? Any new things on the horizon for the Lighthouse? I mean, because you've expanded so much with regards to the Lighthouse Field, but is there anything else coming?
I mean, me personally, I want to see our sports programs take a like the next step. So a lot of it's been introductory, trying to get the kids in here. But we want to grow our programs to be able to travel, to be able to host big games, so that we're really teaching different skills to the kids and taking to the next level.
Right. Well, that's really great, Julian. Let's go back to Somerset location, Edwin, because I remember maybe this is maybe COVID was in effect.
Yeah.
All right. But I'm over there. And by the way, the Somerset location, as you mentioned, it's almost like a YMCA. Okay. Just to give you an idea of all the things that are in there. But let's talk about the esports.
Mm.
All right. You have a team. Tell us, because they're not just there playing video games. They're really competitive. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's about teamwork, and I'm gonna be honest, having young guys like Julian and a couple other guys I have working for me because I'm gonna be honest, I'm an Atari guy, right?
Oh yeah.
The one button, the one joystick.
I remember
But
Atari.
to
Pong was one of the
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I know.
So to see these guys, a couple of my employees were like, "We need to do this. We need to make this happen." And push it. A gentleman by the name of Mike Lopez, he believed in it, and let's make it happen. And these kids come in, even children who are dealing with autism, coming in there, really zoning in and making it happen. It was about practice, teamwork. We had Harrisburg University come on out to meet with our families and our children, talk about the professional teams, what they can do and achieve with esports, and how they could get scholarships. So everything is about bringing exposure to our children and our families. And I'll just say this, like I said, I want to keep pushing. It's not even just kids in our neighborhood that are attending. We have working class folks coming in from everywhere because it's cost affordable. Folks are driving down into our community saying, "Hey, you know what? I can afford this, but it's also safe and it's fun, and my children are interacting and they're socializing."
Right. Now, Edwin, let's talk about Puerto Rico. Once again, the Hispanic Community Counseling Service, it deals with behavioral health. Have a building full of therapists, all right, and counselors to serve the community. And recently you were on a trip with Hector over in Puerto Rico.
No, Santo
Oh,
Domingo.
yeah, sorry,
Yes.
right. So tell us about that and what your role there and how that trip was.
Uh, Awesome trip. I will always say this anywhere I go. I love traveling. The world is beautiful. It could be a dark place, but there's a lot of beautiful people. And I will say that I was a presenter at the Mental Health Coalition, but also just bringing resources out to Santo Domingo, but also to exchange, right? Because a lot of folks are doing good stuff there. We just wasn't coming and saying, "Hey, this is what we do good." But at the same time, so many people attended this event in Santo Domingo that we were able to exchange ideas and hear each other's work, right? And say, I want to take from that. How can I use that? How can I utilize that? And at the same time, being able to say, "Hey, this is what works for me," and other folks are able to use that and take it back to wherever they're from, whether it's in Santo Domingo or anywhere in the states.
Great. Edwin, as we get ready to wrap up this episode of Key Community Leaders, and being that you are a key community leader, we have a new mayor, the 100th mayor of the city, okay? And Sherelle Parker being that mayor. What is your thought, or what would you like to see from this new mayor? Because they really have put a spotlight on Kensington, and just curious to see, do you have any particular expectations for this mayor, and if you could talk to the mayor directly yourself, and I know perhaps you already have, just what are you really looking for to happen as we try to turn the narrative around of what's going on in Kensington and mainly, but at the same time in the whole Philadelphia area with regards to everything out of control with the gun violence, the poverty. Even though there's more than gun violence, we have homeless people out there. Okay, people need higher wages just to go to jobs. But what's your thought and expectation?
It might have a flip side to that. Uh, the expectation is for me is for our community to support her. You know, we have a tendency that once someone gets elected, we expect them to solve all our problems. It's teamwork. Now you're the head, you're the face, so we need community to come on out and say, well, what part do we play? We just don't press a button to vote someone in. We still play a big part. We expect someone to clean our streets, but we still got to clean the front of our house. I drive to the neighborhoods, and sometimes there's 2 trash cans outside, but there's still trash on the floor. When I was a kid, I remember people would get out, turn the fire hydrant on, and folks start cleaning the block. That has nothing to do with poverty. What I'm trying to get at is like community needs to step in and say, how can we participate? Everything is not, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. Law enforcement, politicians, they're not on the block 24/7, but we are. And how do we get involved? When you want to lose weight, folks want to take the diet pill, right?
That's right.
But you gotta work out. You gotta do something. Nobody wants to take the hard route through. So, and I look at politics that way. Folks think, okay, we got somebody in office, they better do something. Like, no, we still gotta work. We still got a lot of work to do. She has her part and we have ours, right? And for me, I'm looking at our community. What are we doing? Are we whining or are we stepping in?
Well said, Edwin. Julian, it was really nice to meet you today. And, I look forward to some of the upcoming activities at the Lighthouse Field. I'm pretty sure I'll be out there for some of those activities.
Please.
All right.
We'd love to have you.
Definitely will be there. Edwin, you're one of our key community hub partners. All right. And, I look forward to expanding upon the meeting we had about a month and a half ago on what we can do. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is a special person here today, Edwin Desamore, Executive Director of the Lighthouse Field, and really great having you. We really look forward to doing some stuff.
Thank you for having us. And if you don't mind me, I know you asked, what do we see ourselves? What envisioning ourselves? And I just wanted to put this out there that 3 to 5 years from now, I would love to see the Lighthouse being a sponsor. What I mean by that is like we should be the ones funding the community, scholarships. I want to get us to that point where we're taking care of our own. We're taking care of the community. Our own is Philadelphians in general, right? So hopefully my dream is to hear the Lighthouse is giving out 10 scholarships to arts, to college, to sports, to trades. And I want us in that place. So we shouldn't have to be begging for money just to do the work. We should be the ones providing the work and providing the resources.
Well said. And the thing about that right there, it's so important to invest back into your community because that's basically what you're saying.
Yes.
Investing back into your community. We definitely want to be part of that with you. All right. Because if we can do that, that's letting people know. And we know this is one of the key words. If you have hope.
That's right.
Right. And you see opportunity. All right. And it gives you a chance to, because under the My Life Blueprint, what are we looking to do? We're looking to set a new standard. And for the people who may not know what their life blueprint is, we're going to provide an outlet maybe with that scholarship.
Yeah. And, a lot of folks, and I mention this all the time when they ask me, who's your competition when it comes to nonprofits, right? If for those who've been to the Lighthouse Field, right next door to us is a cemetery. That's my competition.
I remember you saying that. All right.
That's my competition. And every day we watch families parade their children into that cemetery, right? We have to see that. So what other motivation do we have but to keep pushing?
All right. And that's why this was a special edition of Key Community Leaders. Thanks again for being here, gentlemen.
Thank
you. I'm Atlas X with Key Community Leaders on the Progressive Access Zone podcast. See you next time.